everybody. So we have a really great follow-up video from our last Mom's View book club. We actually have the author with us, John Green, who is a co-founder of VidCon. And we have this amazing opportunity to be able to ask him your questions and things you guys have wanted to ask, as well as some of our questions about this amazing book. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, John?
Well, I grew up in Alabama and Florida, and then now I live in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I write books, and when I'm not writing books, I make video blogs with my brother on the internet, and then sometimes occasionally run video blog conferences.
We're at VidCon. We're here live at VidCon in Anaheim right now.
Yes. So we stole him. We're like, we're going to pull you in, grill you with these questions, and we're really excited. So we're just going to jump into it. Kayla O wants to know, where did you find your inspiration for such emotionally investing characters? She found herself adoring them, rooting for them, laughing with them, and crying for them throughout the novel.
Well, that's very nice of Kayla O to say. You know, I think my inspiration for my characters is, it always comes from something inside of me. I mean, it has to, right? Some emotional impulse in me. And I worked on this book for a really long time, but I didn't start to make a ton of progress on it until two things happened. The first is I became friends with a young woman who had cancer, and the love that I had for her and for her family and the special friendship that we had was really inspirational to me when writing the story. And then secondly, I became a father. And it was in becoming a father that I was able to reimagine the relationship between, you know, a young woman and her parents when she's living with cancer. And that really, in some ways, had been very tangential to the story up until the point I had a son. But when I had a kid, I imagined that relationship so differently because I understood the nature of the unconditional love that we have for our kids.
Which I think helped play a really great part in that book, which resonated really well with me as a mother, was the relationship of the parental structure in the book and how much strength and love they showed. And I think that could have only been resembled through a father or mother himself. So I really appreciated that part in the book.
Wow, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I really loved. Usually, I kind of ignore parents in my book, to be honest with you. I don't usually find them very interesting, but in Hazel and Augustus's case, I wanted them to have really loving parents, even though at times, you know, they can both be sort of dismissive of their parents, and you know, anybody who's ever been a teenager or had a teenager knows about that. But even though you're dismissive of your parents sometimes when you're a teenager, you have this, you need them. You still need them so much, and I really wanted to try to capture that, and to try to capture the, you know, the real healthy, great love. So many books about sad families, you know. Yes. I wanted to write about, you know, a happy family that's having very difficult things happen to them, but where the love is not in question.
Something we were really struck by was that you wrote so well from a teenage girl's point of view. It sounds like you had an actual inspiration. But did you ever find it challenging? Were you worried you wouldn't sound authentic as Hazel? How did you write from the 16-year-old girl's point of view?
I did worry about it some, mostly with clothes. Thank God the flower print sundresses that were popular when I was in high school, when I last, you know, like imagined teenage girls, or, you know, have come back, because all of a sudden I seem quite fashionable. But my wife always kids me that when she reads the first draft of my book, everyone's wearing flower print sundresses. And
so funny.
And all the boys are wearing Umbros. But I am fortunate to be married to an extraordinarily fashionable woman who's able to tell me exactly what they should be wearing instead. So, you know, I had a lot of help. I had a lot of help from my editor, who's a woman, from my wife. And then I also had a lot of help because so many of the people who watch our videos on YouTube are young women, and I read their comments every day, and so I'm, you know, and we're blessed that they share their concerns with us, and so that was really important too. And you know, and I hear them talking, and I read the way they structure sentences, so that was really helpful. And the other thing that I told myself is I'm not trying to write like a book from a girl's perspective. I'm trying to write a book from Hazel's perspective. Yes. And as long as I'm inside of Hazel's mind, it's a lot easier.
Yes. Jenny asks, how long did it take you to write the book?
More than 10 years, which is a lot longer than most of my books take to write. But I started this book, I worked as a chaplain at a children's hospital for about 6 months, right after I graduated from college. I thought I was going to go to seminary, and then I ended up not going. But I started the book then. but it was very different, and it took lots of different forms, and I could never really find a way into it until, like I said, I became a dad and I made friends with Esther.
I think that, I mean, now knowing that and looking through the process of the book, I really appreciate that you did become a father, because it just, the love and the expansion of the relationship with Hazel and her parents, as well as Augustus and his parents, as well as Hazel with Augustus's parents. I just love the encompassing relationships of all of them. And like I said, I think becoming a father, I think probably benefited the book as well. So being a parent is amazing.
It is. It's such a gift. I mean, it's hard. I don't deny how hard it is, but it is such a gift, and our kids give us this. Well, the main thing that Henry gives me on a daily basis is he helps me to understand. He helps me to notice. He helps me to pay attention, because kids are really good at that. You know, they are soaking up information, and my son's 2.5, I should say. He's not like 13 or something. But he's just such, you know, and that makes me stop and pay attention. And so, yeah, it's a real blessing.
Yes. We were wondering when we discussed this book for our book club, if you had someone in your life who had suffered from cancer, if this was personal.
It is. I mean, it's personal in the sense that when I worked as a chaplain, I knew a lot of kids with cancer, and the kids I knew with cancer were very different from the kinds of kids I read about in novels about teenagers with cancer. And I wanted to better reflect that. I wanted to reflect the kind of people I knew who were smart and funny and never stopped being funny. And you know, and it wasn't one of these things of, you know, sort of some beautiful transcendent suffering.
Wise, right?
Right, yeah, like wise beyond their years with the secret to life and everything. I wanted them to just be kids. And so that was a big driver for me. But then when I became friends with Esther, it really changed my life so profoundly, because to know and love someone who's sick is it's very difficult, obviously, and Esther died in 2010 and never got to read this story, but it was really, I felt spurred on by her, and you know, I hope that I didn't in any way try to tell her story, because it's not my story to tell, that's her family's story to tell, but I did want to try to capture what I loved so much about her, and how lucky I feel to have been her friend. And that's hard to say a lot of times when you lose someone.
Right. Yes. We talked about that actually a lot, and I think this book was so meaningful to us. All of us personally that read it, and you must have incredible fan feedback. We have one more question to ask you. I'm getting the wrap-up Glozell panel coming sign. What are some of your favorite books?
Oh, I like so many books. I mean, I read a lot because it's kind of what I do for a living too. So I'm a big fan of the writer Marcus Zusak, who wrote The Book Thief. I'm a big fan of the writer M.T. Anderson. I'm also a bit of a mom as a reader. I like a lot of books that are associated with moms, like The Help and Thea Obrecht. So yeah, a lot of the books that like moms book clubs read, my wife brings them home and I'm like, this is awesome.
We've got to get you at our book club.
Yes, and on the Mom's View, right?
I'd love to.
He's going to be on the Mom's View.
Thank you so much.
Yes, we want to thank you so much, John Green, for letting us have this opportunity to talk with you and to answer your guys' questions. VidCon is amazing. You guys have to register for next year, and we'll see you next time on the Mom's View. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you, guys.